because I saw this week a story that was pretty shocking, really, and shameful in another way, um, about the hub in Broxtowe that we heard so much about during lockdown. I'll just play the clip again about the hub so people can remember what I'm talking about.
We are out and proud about doing this as Labour Party, because this is not just about the Labour Party, but it's tapping into that community spirit that we thought we'd lost in our heartlands, and we clearly haven't. I'm Jane Marshall. I've been a Labour Party member for 30 years. During the election, we had an excellent community organiser helping us, and he instilled in us how important it was that we should be rooted in the community. We thought about this idea of opening up this community hub. This shop was open, hadn't been used for a while. We pulled the shutters up, and then all our members helped decorate it all. I didn't know all members could do it. We had an electrician, painter, somebody come and checked all the wiring. We had people donating stuff, painting. So it was really, really member-led. Over the past 18 months, we've always had food outside on a shelf, on a rack, and then we say, if you need, take, and if you can, donate. So it's always had food there, and a lot of people, again, within the community come and take some food and others donate it. But then when we were told we had to shut the shop because of the crisis, the pandemic, we thought, no, we've really, really got to still reach out to these people that are vulnerable and that have relied on us over the past 18 months. So we put a notice on the door saying, if you want a food parcel, contact this number, and that was my number. And it's gone from that, which was 1 or 2 bags a week, and last week we did 136 bags. We fed over 1,000 people, raised £7,000 from our members and supporters. We've had a lot of lovely messages, a lot of thank yous, and it's, people have said, this is the first time some of my children have had food in the belly in the last week. The elderly were told to isolate, so they did, but then they couldn't do online shopping, so we filled that gap. When people phone up, we say we're Broxtowe Labour. We send the food out in the Labour carrier bags, so they do know it's us that's doing it. And this is what was done in the miners' strike and before that.
Could you tell people what's happened to the community hub now?
Yeah, I can. Well, the community hub is no more now. We had to close it a few months ago, in March actually. But I want to tell you, in fact, the final straw, it's more what's happened to the community hub is that the Labour Party took over our bank account in about, I think, March 21. They took over our bank account, and despite the fact that we'd raised a lot of money for this hub and it was really successful, they stopped paying the bills. So we tried to keep it going for quite a long time, but actually after you probably all know we had a disastrous selection process in February this year. And after that, and the entire CLP executive resigned, we just had nobody to run it anymore. So we decided to close it down then. But it's been an ongoing saga since then. And I think it's that. I think, let me give you the context. That video that you just watched, we made that video when we were put forward for an award. And we actually won an award from the Labour Party. From the Labour Party, we won an Unsung Heroes Award, and it beggars belief, really. The final straw, and the reason I'm really talking to you today, the reason I spoke to Notts TV, which I think is the tweet that you saw earlier in the week, Crispin, is because you saw in that video, in fact, a very old chap lying on his back on the floor doing some work, setting the hub up for us, Dave, our oldest member. And he was 92 when he died just a few weeks ago. And it was his funeral coming up. And one of our councillors, not me, one of our other councillors, wrote to the regional office and said, we would like to have a wreath for Dave. He's our oldest member, been a Labour Party member for 70 years, 14 different Labour leaders, worked tirelessly, still campaigning, even this year, just before he died. We'd like to do a wreath from the Labour Party. And they didn't say no, they just ignored it. They didn't even respond. And it was, for us, it was the final straw. But I mean, I'll take you back a bit to how this final straw came about, really. That hub was really, really successful. We raised money for it. We knew that we got the keys for the hub in 2018. got it done up and opened it. It was opened by Alex Norris MP and Karen, what's her name? I can't remember her name. She was the one from Lincoln. I forgot her name now. But they opened it. This hub was busy the whole time. It was our pride and joy. People gave money for it. Everybody, Karen Lee, that's it. People gave money for it. Our members, everybody was involved in it. The regional office, the Labour Party officials from all over the country came to visit us there. The regional office were really proud of it. We stored in the regional office lots of campaign equipment that we needed. And during the pandemic, it came into its own because it had to be closed and we turned it into a food bank. But then after the pandemic, when we needed to use it for campaigning again, we clearly couldn't keep running the food bank from there. So we established the food bank as a separate charity with myself and other members as the trustees of that charity, moved the food bank a few doors down the road and continued to use our campaigning hub for our elections. The regional officer at one point said to us, we knew we needed a campaign coordinator because it's a lot for a small constituency to run it all on their own. So the regional office encouraged us to apply for the funds, that the Labour Party do nationally, these funds that you can apply to for a campaign coordinator. And we did this application and we heard that we were successful. And somehow that process triggered somebody nationally on the NEC, and I'm not going to name names, but you're all going to sit here thinking, I know who that is. Somebody on the NEC noticed what we were doing in Broxtowe. And from that moment on, they set about crushing our spirit. The way that we found out that our bank account in March 21, our bank account had been taken over was the Co-op Bank. We were with the Co-op Bank, most Labour parties are. They actually wrote to our treasurer to inform her of the change of signatories for the account to her home address. And that's how we found out the Labour Party had changed the signatories on the account to the regional director and two East Midlands regional officers. So immediately, obviously, our treasurer rang the Co-op Bank, but they wouldn't speak to her at all because she wasn't any longer a signatory on the account. So I immediately rang the regional office. And the regional officer, it's Richard Oliver, I will name names there, he said to me, yes, it's an administrative thing. He explained to me that the Labour Party have the right to seize the CLP's account whenever they want. It's an administrative thing. We're looking into how the money's been spent. Concern being that funding that had been raised for the Labour Party was being spent on the hub. Well, for goodness sake, it was the Labour Party hub. Obviously, we were spending money we'd raised to support our campaigning, but they decided to investigate that and took over the bank account. But he said, don't worry, Teresa, it'll only be a matter of weeks. If anything needs paying, the regional office will pay it. And when the CLP gets the account back, they can reimburse the regional office. So we weren't too panicked about it at that time. But then it went on and on and on. And we were getting messages saying bills hadn't been paid, messages saying that the rent hadn't been kept up, the electricity, obviously all the utilities, the phone. Members who were incurring expenses weren't being paid. And for example, our delegate to conference had to pay out of their own pocket £800 for hotels and transport and all the bits that if you've ever been to regional to national conference, it's very expensive. And that wasn't reimbursed either, still hasn't been reimbursed now. And I was constantly the regional officer, they've all, I mean, they haven't just stopped answering the phone to me, they've stopped answering the phone to anybody, to be fair, but weren't returning any of my calls, not answering any emails that we were sending. I was sending, treasurer was sending, saying, these bills have got to be paid. It was just a blank wall. And in the end, the debts were getting higher and higher. And when we closed the hub, actually, in March this year because none of us were prepared to put up with it anymore. We thought that would be the end of it for us, but it hasn't been the end of it, because the landlord, who is owed thousands of pounds, constantly emailing me, copying me into emails to regional office, no response at all. The electricity company, no response at all. Still getting the calls. Got debt collectors calling me, and I'm like, it's nothing to do with me. Here's the phone number. Here's the email address for the regional office, and just a wall of silence. And then, really bizarrely, about 6 weeks ago, the landlord copied me in on an email that they'd had from the regional office asking for the bank details. And we thought, oh, this is great. This is great. They're going to pay it at last. And you know what? They didn't. They didn't. I got an email 3 weeks later saying it still hasn't been paid. Still hasn't been paid now. None of the debts have been paid. And it's baffling to us. Now, you know, I know you'll accuse me of having Stockholm syndrome and all of these things, but I am a member of the Labour Party. I'm a Labour councillor. I'm actually the mayor at the moment.
Where's your chain?
Yeah, it's in a box somewhere. I only officially wear it when I'm being official. I'm a Labour councillor. I've been in the Labour Party for a very long time. I'm a socialist, an avowed socialist. In Broxtowe, we won control of the council for the first time in 19 years, even after what had happened to us with our selection. And we've got a really good programme. We're building houses. We're doing everything a Labour council should do. No job cuts, no budget cuts, building houses, making sure our environment's taken care of. We're working really, really hard. We're not doing that for the Labour Party. We're doing that for the people of Broxtowe. But you won't find me being angry with the Labour Party. I've been in the Labour Party for a long time. I've said it to all of you before. Leaders come and leaders go. You know, when the country voted for Boris Johnson at the last election, you know, he didn't last long after, did he? They didn't keep him for long. Leaders come and leaders go. I can't bear what's happening with the Labour Party nationally at the moment. And it baffles me as to why they would want to destroy the reputation of the Labour Party in an area like Broxtowe, which, despite the fact we've got an imposed candidate, it's still a key seat. Why would they want to do that? But it's disgusting. It's funds that we raised. We raised that. I was the Labour Party fundraiser. I was constituency fundraiser as well as chair.
I remember. Yeah, you were good on that.
Yeah, we used to have great fun, didn't we? Raised such a lot of money for so many years, and money that we raised put in our bank account. We don't even know now. We've had no oversight of that bank account. We don't even know if the money's still in the bank account. We don't know what's happened to it. We don't know why the bills haven't been paid. We're getting no explanation. And it's embarrassing for us locally, because we have to see the landlord's a very well-known local estate agent. Who's supported us for years, actually. And we have to deal with this on the ground. But like I say, the final straw was them refusing to even acknowledge the fact that our oldest member, who'd given so many years service, had just died, and I can't bear it. The regional office, I mean, I've been a member for such a long time. We've had a lot of regional directors in that time. Never known anything like this now. It's unbelievable.
No, I want to say thank you so much for coming on, because a lot of people are worried about saying anything, who are in the Labour Party, because they think they might be disciplined. You're the mayor, and you're a councillor, and you're a massive part of Broxtowe. So to come on this show and say what you've said is very helpful to everyone to know what's happening. I don't agree with what you're saying about the leaders coming and going. I think Starmer's set up such a rigid party that they won't let anyone like Jeremy Corbyn or anyone who has a kind of community outlook come to the fore. That's my view. The other reason I'd say that is I've been expelled unfairly, and I hope it doesn't happen to you. I hope you still.
What's the worst that can happen?
Well, I hope. Well, no, but I mean that's the kind of thing that it does change when you're expelled. You do kind of think, well, what can I do? I can't do anything. Can't do anything anyway. I don't know what to say, but if I could, I'll give you a big hug and and I'm sure everyone here would do the same.
Let me say criticism about this being, I mean, obviously, I mean, my husband Mick, he said to me, oh, you know, you're playing a dangerous game, you might get expelled. I have all my life believed in speaking up and speaking truth to power. You know, why would I be too scared of, I mean, what's, if I die in unfortunate circumstances, you'll know I've been assassinated. Apart from that, if I'm still alive, I'll still be a socialist. I'll still be working for people. I'll still be, you know, if I get one of those 4:30 emails on a Friday, I mean, as many of you have had, I mean, they actually say in them, you shouldn't mention it to anybody. So I shall probably just not even mention it to anybody and carry on regardless. You know, what's the point of being afraid of speaking truth to power? There's, you know, I don't think anybody should ever, just like I don't think anybody should allow themselves to be blackmailed, I don't think anybody should ever be fearful of what might happen to them if they speak truth to power, because at the end of the day, if we can't stand up for people, then it's not worth it, is it? And the more people that know what's happening, you know, you might think Starmer's got it. We'll see. You know, in the future, you'll either say to me, told you so, or you were right. We'll see, won't we?